available for the next person to discover, all for about $1 a week. You can do your part right now at 1-888-376-9692 or at WNYC.org.
You know, when news breaks around the world, you can tune to WNYC to hear the latest developments in the background that you need to be informed as we partner up with NPR and the BBC to cover the world. And then there's the WNYC Newsroom, which is, bringing you captivating, in-depth series that spotlight topics close to New York City as well as international topics. Our award-winning newsroom, that's what you're supporting. You're paying for that here on WNYC. We want to continue doing that for another year. So if you've already called and made that pledge, thank you so much. You can still do your part.
And don't forget, your last chances this morning to get in on this $4,000 TechServe gift card giveaway. Do your part at whatever level is comfortable for you, and do it now. You might be the lucky winner of that $4,000 TechServe gift card. 1-888-376-9692 or WNYC.org.
It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Steve Inskeep. Good morning. Here's one way to get a measure of how severe the Amtrak train derailment was in Philadelphia Tuesday night. 243 people were on board that train. At least 7 were killed. And authorities say more than 200 were injured. That means that only a handful of people walked away from that train untouched. And we're going to hear now what the experience was like. NPR's Nathan Rott has the story.
Andrew Brenner was on the last of the 7 cars on Amtrak's Northeast Regional number 188. He was heading to New York City for his first day on a new job.
I had my phone in my hand. I was reading some papers.
He had his shoes off as a train pulled at a 30th Street station in Philadelphia and picked up speed.
And clearly we were going pretty fast, entering into a curve, and you're sort of teetering on that edge of we're okay, and then immediately, nope, we're not okay, and this is really bad.
Brenner says he was thrown out of his seat and around the car.
I'm a big guy at 5'8", 250, and I got tossed like nothing.
Brenner was one of nearly 250 people on board. One of the lucky ones, he says. No major injuries, no cuts. Remarkable, given what the train looked like a day later. Twisted and turned, cars crushed and lying on their sides. Investigators were able to recover the train's data recorder from that wreckage early Wednesday. From an initial download of the information, they were able to determine that the engineer applied emergency brakes as a train entered that sharp left curve. Here's Robert Sumwalt of the National Transportation Safety Board.
Maximum authorized speed through this curve was 50 miles per hour. When the brake application was applied, the train was traveling approximately 106 miles per hour
and slowed to only 102 miles per hour by the time the data recording stopped and the train derailed. Still more than twice the speed allowed for that curve. The question then is why and how the train was moving so fast. Sumwalt says that they'll get some answers as they continue to pore over the data and when they interview the train's engineer.
This person has gone through a very traumatic event, and we want to give him an opportunity to convalesce for a day or so before we interview him, but that is certainly a high priority for us.
And a mystery for others. In an interview with CNN, Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter called the engineer reckless and irresponsible.
There can be no reasonable, rational explanation for why you're doing 106 on a 50-mile-an-hour rated curve.
Passenger Andrew Brenner wasn't as fast to put sole blame on the engineer.
Regardless of whether it was the engineer's fault or Amtrak's or, frankly, Congress and the government for how little they fund Amtrak. It's the year 2015. We should have figured out rail travel by now.
Investigators are expected to be on the site for the rest of the week. Nathan Rott, NPR News, Philadelphia.
A series of high-profile confrontations is changing the attitudes of American police. Even before the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri last summer, American police forces were finding themselves under increased scrutiny. Incidents since then have only increased the pressure. Camera phones and social media make it easier to question them. And police are changing their behavior, though not always in the way the public might like. NPR's Martin Costi reports.
Let's be clear, there are a lot of things about police that haven't changed. For instance, bagpipes. Cops still play them at funerals, and at ceremonies like this one at the National Law Enforcement Memorial here in Washington, D.C. This was Tuesday afternoon, the festive finish to an annual police bike ride. Nearly 2,000 cops from around the country cycling in memory of colleagues who died on the job. They were welcomed by friends and family, some of them wearing T-shirts with the image of the thin blue line. Josh Underwood is a sheriff's deputy from St. Johns County, Florida. He shows the metal wristbands that the riders wear.
It's an engraved band, and you have somebody's name on it, so that's who you ride for that year. And usually the tradition is you find that family, and you give them that band and say, hey, I rode for your son or your brother, you know, your husband.
But this event feels a little different this year, more embattled. It's hard to forget about Ferguson, North Charleston. And this year, the riders were routed away from Baltimore because they were worried about becoming targets. Steve Stiletovich watches the cyclists arrive. He's a sergeant with the Indianapolis Police Department, and he's been on the job for 30 years.
And over the 30 years, I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of ups and downs, but I've got to tell you, the current situation is about as bad as I've seen.
Lately, he's been checking the news every morning for incidents involving police, incidents anywhere in the country, so that he can warn his officers at roll call.
I tell them, hey, this is going to break today, and it's going to be ugly, and there's going to be some catcalls and some jeers.
America's local police are now acting on a national stage. When something happens in South Carolina, the cops feel the effects in Indianapolis. And as I've talked to cops over the last year, one word keeps coming to mind: disruption. It's a Silicon Valley cliche, but police embrace it. And they're quick to point out the technologies that are doing the disrupting.
Social media has made stories that never would have been heard or seen before national news.
On the other side of the country, another veteran cop makes this analogy.
Just like Vietnam, the first cameras to the war in Vietnam, everybody was shocked at the violence.
That's Cloyd Steiger. He's a police detective in Seattle, and he started out as a patrolman in 1979. He says it's like when the TV cameras arrived in Vietnam because, like that moment, the public is getting a dose of harsh reality.
People see things that they didn't see before, and people watch the TV shows, and it's so sanitized. That's what they think violence is supposed to really look like. Well, it doesn't. That's not the way use of force looks. Use of force looks ugly, but that's the way it's always been.
Now, civilians hear this and think, good. The more transparency, the better. A lot of cops say that too. But some of them add this warning. All this exposure is going to mean a different kind of policing. Steiger says it's making cops more passive. He recalls what it was like to patrol the streets back in the 80s.
Our whole job was to go and shake gangbangers or dope dealers and stuff to kind of clean up the area.
That would never fly today, especially in Seattle, a city that's been burned by unflattering videos of aggressive cops. Two of Steiger's sons are patrolmen, and they tell him it's a whole different philosophy now.
You know, if you're driving down the street and there's a guy you think is dealing drugs or prowling cars or something, and if you stop him and things kind of go bad, a little bit like you have a use of force situation, then it's micromanaged. Everybody looks at everything you said, everything you did. But if you just choose to just drive one by, no one ever second guesses you if you just ignore it.
But cops say when they are forced to act, when things do get confrontational, then they face the other part of this disruption. People now are a lot more willing to ask questions and even talk back. It's as if they've been practicing it in their minds while watching other people's videos of encounters with the police. And police trainer Mark Best says people also now seem to know what they're talking about.
They may know how far a police officer can go. They do the research on the internet where it used to be you had to go down to the law library. Now you just click a mouse button and people know their rights, and which they should.
He says he's now training aspiring police officers to expect questions and to explain what they're doing. Still, there's a fundamental conflict here. For the past few decades, American cops have been trained in something called command presence. That's the technique of using a forceful tone and body language to take control of a scene. It's meant to keep things from spinning out of control, but it can also come off as offensive, and it looks terrible on video. In Seattle, Cloyd Steiger worries about cops losing their command presence.
There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, why are you stopping me? And giving an explanation. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the in-your-face, you can't touch me, trying to walk away, and stuff that leads to physical confrontations that wouldn't have led to a physical confrontation before.
Still, Steiger doesn't think the public's challenging attitude will last. He takes the long view. He says just wait until the crime rate goes back up again.
The pendulum has swung many times in my career. This is the farthest it's swung in its arc. But that doesn't mean it won't swing back to the middle where it needs to be.
You hear that from a lot of the older cops. Lori Robinson has heard it too. and she doesn't buy it.
I don't think this is just a pendulum swing.
She's a professor of criminology, law, and society at George Mason University, and she co-chaired President Obama's task force on 21st century policing.
I think that there is something different now, in part because of the visibility of what's occurred due to social media, due to the 24-hour media cycle, and part of it because of the focus of the American people on what has been occurring.
She thinks the effect of all this attention will be a fundamental change in the culture of American policing. It's a change that's already underway, and what's interesting here is how it's happening. America has one of the most decentralized police systems in the world. We can't even figure out exactly how many local police agencies we have, and the federal government doesn't have a good way to force nationwide reform. And yet, that reform seems to be happening, and it's being propelled by people on the internet. Martin Costi, NPR News, Washington.
We're going to keep talking about our changing police culture. Tomorrow, we hear from two leaders changing the way officers are trained, the chief of the Camden County, New Jersey Police Department and the director of Washington State's Police Academy.
WNYC is supported by NBC4 New York. Viewers can watch NBC programming without their TV by pressing the Watch Live TV Now button online at NBCNewYork.com or on the NBC4 New York app, available on the App Store. The Jerome L. Green Foundation, helping to keep the arts affordable and accessible for audiences across New York City.
You're listening to Morning Edition on WNYC. Some in New York City's Chinese community have called for changes, or rather charges, to be dropped against police officer Peter Liang in the shooting death of Akai Gurley, saying he's being scapegoated because of his race. But others in the community call those demands misguided and hurtful. We'll have the latest in about 15 minutes. Alternate side parking rules are suspended today, but parking meter regulations remain in effect. It's going to be pretty nice today. Sunny skies with highs reaching the lower 70s. Then tonight remains mostly clear with a low near 55. Tomorrow will be mostly sunny and breezy with highs again near 73. Right now it is sunny in New York City, 53 degrees in Central Park. Sunny in White Plains at 48 degrees. WNYC at 724.
Support for NPR comes from WNYC members and from Performance Bicycle, supporting National Bike to Work Week and working with People for Bikes to make cycling more accessible. Store locations and online store at performancebike.com. Performance Bicycle, where great rides begin. Kaspersky, giving 400 million individuals and organizations the power to protect against cybercriminals, hackers, and other internet threats. Learn more at Kaspersky.com. That's KASPERSKY.com. And Netflix with a new original series, Grace and Frankie, a story about two women forced to reinvent their lives, starring Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Martin Sheen, and Sam Waterston. All episodes are now streaming. WNYC support comes from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, dedicated to promoting informed and engaged communities, and committed to helping public radio advance journalism excellence in the digital age. More at knightfoundation.org.
When you pledge your support to WNYC, your name will automatically be entered to win a $4,000 gift certificate from TechServe, the Apple specialist on West 23rd Street near 6th Avenue. The gift certificate can be used on any products or services from TechServe, including the entire family of Mac, iPad, iPhone, and iPod, plus a selection of accessories, cases, bags, and gear. You don't have to pledge to win, but we hope you will. If you're a sustaining member, you're already entered. If not, become a member today. Call or click now to win.
Call or click right now because this giveaway is ending this morning. This is your last chance during the drive to get in on this $4,000 TechServe gift card giveaway. The number to call is 1-888-376-9692. You can also, of course, get in on it at WNYC.org. Good morning, I'm Satirius Johnson. With me this morning, WNYC's Richard Hayes.
Satirius, good morning. You know that in-depth news coverage is becoming kind of rare these days in today's media landscape, and there's a reason for it, because it's no longer profitable for some of the big commercial media outlets. Serious journalism is real expensive to do. It takes time. That's why listener-supported news and information on WNYC is more important than ever. We continue to bring you comprehensive coverage from dedicated journalists, because you continue to support the work that we do all year round, and this is the time of year when we ask you to make a financial contribution to that. Be a producer, in essence, of Morning Edition and of all the other shows that you get on WNYC for another year. We're asking for